These are some of the most beautiful women who ever graced a movie screen, and plastic surgery destroyed what nature gave them. Back in the golden age of Hollywood, cosmetic work carried deep shame. The techniques were dangerous, and for some of the biggest names in the business, the results were permanent damage that ended careers and ruined lives. What most people don't realize is just how far back this goes. By 1930, Photoplay Magazine published an article with the subtitle, "How Hollywood Submits to the Knife of the Plastic Surgeon in the Name of Beauty." The writer, Hedy Lamarr, estimated that around 2,000 actors and actresses in Hollywood had already gone under the knife. 2,000, and that was 1930. The entire field of cosmetic surgery had only existed for about 20 years at that point, developed by British surgeons during World War I to repair facial wounds on soldiers. Techniques built for battlefields were being used on movie stars, and the results, as you're about to hear, were not always kind. Let's begin with America's sweetheart. Mary Pickford dominated the silent film era like almost no one else. Her Best Actress Oscar came in 1930 for Coquette, and her entire career depended on one thing: the ability to convey emotion through her face alone, which mattered enormously in silent pictures. But Pickford feared aging, and sometime in the 1930s, she turned to the still primitive science of cosmetic surgery for a facelift. The procedure in those years involved nothing more than pulling the skin upward and stretching it tight, with no understanding of the deeper tissue or the muscles underneath. For Mary Pickford, the outcome proved devastating. Surgery left her unable to smile, unable to frown, barely able to move her face at all. Greg Jenner wrote in his book, Dead Famous, that reports described her as looking mummified. A woman whose face had been her instrument lost the ability to play it. Marlene Dietrich saw what happened to Pickford and chose a different path. Rather than risk a surgical facelift, Dietrich invented her own method in 1944 while filming Kismet. Her makeup artists would twist tiny strands of her hair around hairpins, then pull them so fiercely tight and pin them back on her head that the process sometimes drew blood. Surgical tape hidden under wigs pulled the skin even tighter, and she wore a fine gold chain running under her chin and behind her ears to lift any sagging. On top of all that, she had her back molars removed to sharpen her cheekbones. Painful, yes, but Dietrich had seen the alternative and wanted no part of it. Now we come to the one case where actual medical proof exists, documented, auctioned, and verified. Most people picture Marilyn Monroe as the ultimate natural beauty. That image shattered in 2013 when Julian's Auctions in Beverly Hills put up 6 X-rays and a file of doctor's notes from Hollywood surgeon Dr. Michael Gurdin. Those records confirmed what had been whispered for decades. In 1950, when Monroe was just 24, she received a chin implant made from bovine cartilage because silicone implants didn't exist yet, along with a tip rhinoplasty on the end of her nose. According to author Patrick McGrady, Monroe sought the chin work after overhearing people call her a chinless wonder, and her surgeon Dr. John Pangman performed the graft. One director told her afterward, "Honey, you should have cut your chin 2 years ago." In Monroe's case, the surgery appeared to work, at least at first. But here's the thing those records also revealed. By 1958, the bovine cartilage implant had slowly begun to dissolve inside her face. Her complaint to Dr. Gurdin was listed as chin deformity, and that captures the crude reality of cosmetic surgery in that era because the materials simply weren't reliable enough to last. Monroe's final X-rays carry the date of June 7, 1962, taken after a late-night fall. 20th Century Fox fired her the very next day, and 2 months later, she was dead at 36. Those medical records sold for $25,600. Martin Nolan, executive director of Julian's Auctions, put it plainly. Nobody really thought about Marilyn Monroe having plastic surgery. They thought she was such a natural beauty they didn't want to believe. The most heartbreaking story of all belongs to Hedy Lamarr. Born Hedwig Kiesler in Vienna in 1914, Lamarr won her first beauty contest at 12 and fled Austria in 1937, escaping both a controlling husband and the growing Nazi threat. MGM head Louis B. Mayer signed her, rechristened her Hedy Lamarr, and promoted her as the world's most beautiful woman. And beyond the screen, Lamarr co-invented a frequency-hopping communications technology that became foundational to Wi-Fi, GPS, and modern cell phones. By any measure, she was extraordinary. But Hollywood valued her for one thing above everything else, and that was her face. When age began changing it, Lamarr could not accept the loss. Starting in the 1960s, she turned to cosmetic procedures, reportedly facelifts, rhinoplasty, and lip injections, and she is widely described as the first Hollywood actress to publicly admit to having work done. Admission brought no peace, though. She kept going back procedure after procedure, each one chasing a version of herself that no longer existed, each one pulling her further from the woman the world had worshipped. The surgeries eventually left her unrecognizable, and she withdrew from public life entirely. One biographer captured it perfectly. She cursed her looks but despaired as she aged and lost them. She tried to recapture the past with increasingly excessive plastic surgery. She became a punchline, mocked and ridiculed by those who had once worshipped her beauty. Robert Osborne, speaking in the 2017 documentary Bombshell, offered the darkest summary of all. The only thing that would have solved the problem is if she died young. Lamarr died on January 19, 2000 in Florida at the age of 85. A brilliant inventor, a pioneering mind, and a woman who spent her final decades hiding from the world because cosmetic surgery stripped away the one thing Hollywood told her mattered most. And that brings us to the real tragedy connecting all of these stories. The studio system built these women into icons and then punished them for aging. MGM alone employed 52 people in its makeup department, all dedicated to manufacturing the illusion of flawless beauty. 7-year contracts gave studios control over everything, from what you ate, to how you stood, to how you looked on camera. Gloria Swanson captured the whole machinery in a single line during a 1957 interview. "I think it's the male who has done this to the woman, made her self-conscious about a wrinkle here and there." These women didn't fail. The system around them failed. It handed them an impossible standard, then punished them for trying to hold on to it. Mary Pickford lost her smile. Hedy Lamarr lost her public life. And Marilyn Monroe's chin implant literally dissolved inside her face because the technology of the era simply could not deliver what it promised. The next time you look at a golden age Hollywood photograph and marvel at how flawless those women appeared, remember that behind nearly every one of those perfect faces sat a story of pressure, pain, and in some cases permanent damage that no amount of glamour could undo. If you found this one worth your time, subscribe and leave a comment below. We'll see you in the next one.